Listen, and all you desire will be yours. Welcome to Spider-Dan and the Secret Balls. Prepare for Prattle.
Secret Ball Stories. Welcome to Prattle World. I'm your host, the ever-amazing, ever-spectacular Spider-Dan, and in this podcast, I spotlight entertainment's best-kept secrets that a mainstream audience may find boring. And welcome to Secret Ball Stories, where I invite guests to count down a personal top 5 list in high-fidelity fashion. And Scott Hodgson is here to finish our Titanic trilogy of video games. Welcome, Scott. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while.
My friend. It's been a while, yeah.
It's been a hot minute.
It has. But,
since our when was our last one? It was a Star Wars one, wasn't it? Star Wars.
It was maybe a year ago.
Yeah, I think
maybe
so.
A bit longer.
Maybe a little bit longer. A little bit longer. And we did our Twilight one with Lucy before.
We did.
Which was very fun, and yeah, that was good.
Nice to round off the trilogy.
It is good, yeah. So you've done our Star Wars ones, we've done our comic book video games, and we're here now to talk movie licensed video games. So I've not used the term movie tie-in because historically there's not been many.
I think
good
we would
ones.
have struggled if it was just specific movie tie-ins.
It's like Spider-Man 2, and that's it for all 5 places, I think.
I think we had Spider-Man 2 in our comic book game.
Right, well,
so
we'd already ruined it. We fucked it. We absolutely fucked it. So with this one, we've decided to give ourselves a bit more of a chance. So
bit of leeway.
Yeah, a bit of leeway, a little leeway. I know that some people might be considering the direct adaptations of these films and such, but in this one, we are allowing a little leeway. So if it is a licensed movie property that these video games are based on, if it's in that universe of the movie, if it's a prequel or a sequel, it counts in our top 5 list. So have you played many, I mean, obviously saying what you've said, you've not played that many good movie-based games, would you say?
Well, you sent me the list of, I think, all on Wikipedia or something, all the...
It's not that comprehensive,
No,
I will
and there's
say.
a lot of bad
missing.
ones out there. Trying to come up with top 5. I managed to get 7, a short list of 7 quite easily.
Okay, good.
And then 3 of those were definites, and then it was just me picking out which of the other 4
would fit
I wanted
in.
to add. But I've played. Yeah, I think I've played a lot of duds as well. But
I think we all
some good
have.
ones.
I think we all have. I think, and I think any of these, like I think with Star Wars games, there was a plethora we could have chosen from.
Yeah.
Even the slightly crapper ones are good. Same sort of with the comic book ones. I think there's a few really excellent ones and a few real duds out there. But with this, I think there's a few franchises that I think are pretty solid, like the James Bond franchise. I think of games are usually pretty solid.
I think we'll be hearing a bit of them, maybe.
Yeah, maybe on my list, maybe on your list. I do not know what Scott has chosen, so it could be a completely left field choice, like E.T. on the Atari.
I was going to say, notoriously the worst video game ever made
Absolutely.
is based on a film. So
Yeah, and also there's not many movie-based video games that they try so hard to get rid of, they bury them in the desert. If you haven't seen that documentary on the E.T. video game, I highly recommend it. It's brilliant. And the uncovering and the digging up and they found the games.
they weren't actually sure if it was a myth or whether it was real,
like a
were they?
legend.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be a true legend, and who knew? Who knew? Anyway, let's get started, because we've got a lot to cover. So as always, you are the guest, Scott, so I would like you to go first.
Thank you. So I'm going to start with my oldest pick, which is Aladdin on the Snes. I was torn between this and The Lion King, because I really enjoyed both of them when they came out. And Aladdin, there was actually 2 versions. There was one on the SNES, or the SNES, or Super Nintendo, and then there was one on Mega Drive.
Yeah, or the Master System, I think it was. That the Master System?
Genesis, yeah.
Sorry, Master.
For our American friends.
You're the video game expert, so I defer to you. But yeah.
Yeah, so the one on the Super Nintendo was made by Capcom, who are probably my favourite developer.
Really?
I think.
Okay.
They make Resident Evil and a lot of other
Pretty
good stuff.
solid. Street Fighter.
Yeah. The one on the Super Nintendo, it's a bit more platformy, whereas the one on the Mega Drive, you have a sword, but on the one on the Super Nintendo, you have to jump on people's heads and you throw apples at people to sort of stun them.
Because they're deadly, those apples.
Exactly.
In comparison to a sword. The apple is deadlier than the sword.
And in the Super Nintendo, you have Abu running around the level with you.
Oh, really?
Which is, he's sort of pointing the way to go and helps out a little bit.
I mean, I always need that in a video game. Like, where am I going? What am I doing?
Yeah.
I don't know where I am. Help me.
And yeah, I just think it's a lot more fun. I think I prefer platformy rather than action games, or I did back in that time anyway. I
mean, it's very much in line with what we are used to as the most popular form of video game, like Mario and things like that.
You start off in Agrabah, you're mainly just trying to get to the end of the level. But there's lots of those, like the guards are trying to stop you, and they've got swords, and you have to jump on their heads or avoid them completely. And there's also like a sort of a bed sheet that you can find that helps you float down to the ground.
Okay, interesting. Like a parachute.
Like a parachute kind of thing, yeah. And that wasn't in the Mega Drive one. And at the end of throughout the level, you can collect, the beetle, the gold beetle.
Like the scarab thing, yeah.
So I think there's one of those in every level, and if you find that, then you get a little bonus round with I think there's like a roulette wheel, and you can get extra lives and that sort of thing. But it's sort of a collectathon. There's like lots of diamonds in the rough and gems you can find.
That's cool.
But yeah, and the magic carpet levels are quite good. So you're sort of flying around and having to get out of the cave of wonders.
I forgot about those. Yeah,
but yeah, it's a good fun game.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention it in my honourable mentions. In fact, Aladdin. I think the Disney ones, like you said, Lion King again was another one I was going to consider in my honourable mentions. Again, they were a little difficult. I remember
the Disney one was Lion King was really hard.
Yeah, I remember like passing the first level, and then it's the bit where you're like jumping over the giraffes' heads and stuff.
And you got
really
to roar
tricky.
and there's monkeys as well. You've got to roar at them to make them turn the other way, to make them throw you a different direction.
That's right. Yeah, so they were having a good period for like kind of adaptations of video games, Disney. So,
yeah,
I mean, I love the Aladdin film. I think it's a classic. The less said about the live action remake, the better.
I saw that shocking. At Christmas, I think.
Shocking, awful, awful. Hello, I am Jafar. I am the evil. I'm not going to turn into a giant snake. I'm just going to make a giant parrot. Awful, just terrible. But no, I think that's a pretty good choice. I don't really remember it as well as I would like to. Like, does it feature many levels from the game, like stages that would be featured in the game, like the Cave of Wonders?
So there's one level where you're sort of going into the cave and you're jumping over rocks and climbing over things. And then you get into, or you walk past the carpet. I think you actually walk over the carpet. And then it comes to life.
That's nice. I like that.
And then you go into where all the gold and everything is, and you got to climb up to reach the lamp. All the lava starts coming out, and the cave is getting destroyed. So you got to fly the carpet to try and get out. And then the next level is, I think you get the lamp, and then you go into the lamp, and there's lots of the genie's playing lots of tricks and.
So he's the villain of that level.
Yeah. But he's also helping you and making platforms and things.
Okay, cool.
That's really fun.
That's interesting.
And then you've got to go back to Agrabah and defeat Jafar, of course, who turns into the big snake at the end, and you've got to jump on his head to kill him.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I can see why they may have made some changes to that version. Obviously, him running around with a sword very rarely happens in the film.
Yeah.
And again, it might be a bit aggressive. I know there was a lot of racial insensitivity with the film that when it came out, there was a lot of that's not quite right or true, or that's a bit offensive. So maybe they were trying to avoid more controversy, possibly.
Because Nintendo was sort of the more family friendly of the two.
Of the two systems,
to avoid a bit more of the violence and things.
Because I know they toned down like Mortal Kombat and things like that for
so
the
instead
SNES releases.
Instead of blood, it was sweat.
So much sweat.
Yeah, so it was just this grey sludge that.
It's arguably that's more disgusting and disturbing. I think just someone sweating that much, profusely sweating. But I get it. But it does sound like they've, like you said, they've got a parachute option, they've got the jumping, they've got the apples. It's not like they've just gone, we won't have any of that. We need to replace that with something, or give a different style, different take. Yeah. I always found the SNES had better graphics as well. generally?
In general, yeah. I think this is one of the few where I think the Mega Drive actually looked a bit better.
Oh, okay.
The one on the Snes, it was sort of pixels, whereas the one on the Mega Drive, it was more hand-drawn, I think. So the Mega Drive one actually looked a bit better than the Snes. In this instance.
In this instance. Yeah. Very good. Well, excellent choice. I think a lot of people will agree with you there. I think there's a lot of... is your choices, are they coming out of like nostalgia a little bit? Are they coming out of really encapsulates you in that universe of the game? Or?
Yeah, it definitely takes me back. Because they've just been re-released as well on maybe a year ago or so as like a collection. So you've got The Lion King and Aladdin as part of the same collection.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was a really good platformer. The thing with the sort of parachute, that gave it a little extra dimension. Yeah, it was pretty hard as well.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the games.
Challenging.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do remember, though, they tended to be a little bit more challenging. Obviously, the ones in the arcade were, obviously, they want you to put in as much money as you possibly can to continue the game, so they were quite difficult. And obviously, when a lot of these games made the move to a platform, they kind of reduced the difficulty a bit. But I always did find these quite challenging. Like I said, with Lion King, I don't think I ever got past the second level, but I really enjoyed that first level. I would play it over and over and over, and I would keep attempting to get further, but it was very, very rare that I did.
Defeating Scar.
Scar, yeah.
Defeating Scar at the end of the Lion King game, I never figured out how to do it, because you're on top of this like Pride Rock and you've got to throw him over you, but I could never figure out what buttons you had to press. I remember me and my friends would play it and we'd just button mash until it happened.
Figure it out.
But yeah, I could never figure out actually how to throw him over you.
That's the thing with old games as well. They didn't like... In some respects, and even to this day, there's some days where I'm like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do in this point. You know, they do, obviously nowadays there's more instructional aspects, and you have to do this, you press this button to do this thing, you are required to do this at this point, and there's still a little bit of that disconnect. But back in the day, you would literally have to like buy a magazine to find out how you did that, or, you know, ask for, you know, a tip of some older kid that knew how to do it. It was a very different world. Like nowadays, you literally you buy the game the day after someone has already completed it and shows you how to get past that thing.
Go on YouTube
instantly. That's what I do all the time now. But that is an excellent choice. So I'm also gonna go with one from the SNES. So I'm gonna go for there's a few choices that people have come up with on the listener comments that we'll get into that are arguably better than the films themselves, and I think this is one of them. So I'm going to go with Judge Dredd from 1995, based on the Sylvester Stallone film, which was highly regarded as not being very good, with what's his name from the Adam Sandler movies? Rob. He's the Schneider.
Yeah.
How is it? Rob Schneider's in it. Yeah. Luckily, he's not in this game. So this game is kind of like a run and gun platformer. So you're running around. It's kind of a bit like Alien 3. If you played that on the SNES, it was kind of a similar.
That was one of my early picks, actually.
Was it? Oh, okay.
But no, didn't make it into my shortlist.
Didn't make the cut. But it's quite similar in gameplay to that.
See, I've never seen footage of Judge Dredd.
Yeah, Judge Dredd is all right. You've got multiple weapons. You've got grenades. You've got different type of... Because the lawgiver can obviously shoot different types of ammunition, so you get all the different types of ammunition. And you're running around. The first 6 or so... I think there's like 12 levels or something like that. The first 6 are based on the plot of the movie. But after that, it kind of is more based on the comics. So it introduces like the dark judges, like Judge Death, Judge Fear, Judge Mortis, and Judge Fire, I think they're all called. So this kind of supernatural, more comic book element comes into it, which often you find in like things like Spider-Man 2. They'll throw in more villains and stuff.
Yeah, like Shocker.
Or Rhino or something like that. So you get a bit of that. And it was an interesting game because it had a mechanic where actually it incentivized you arresting the perps. So you could punch them and arrest them, and when you arrested them, this little platform would come. They'd put their hands over their head, and the platform would fly them away, and that would be it. But when you did that, you actually got more ammo, because the ammo is quite scarce in the game. So it allowed you to do that. What it also did is when you killed a perp, a spirit of one of the dark judges would escape from their body, which you could capture in a bubble. which is, I guess it's kind of like Ghostbusters in a way. So the backgrounds were digitized from actually the sets of the movies. So they literally took photos and were like, right, we're just going to use that. And then the latter half again is more in line with the comics. So it was a really interesting game. You had secondary objectives which you could complete as well. So like destroy all these barrels to complete your second objective, or make sure you arrest this guy instead of killing him, which I think was kind of a little bit ahead of its time. Like, we look at it now and it's like, our Red Dead Redemptions and things like that, or other games of that kind of quality and caliber have those kind of mechanics where I like games that give you a choice and give you an option. Like, you don't have to... You can do it stealthily, or you can just go in and blow everything up. Like, it's down to you as the player to decide how you approach that. It also had a level where you're on the flying motorcycle, and it's kind of an on-the-rail shooter as well. Yeah. So yeah, it was fun. I don't think it's the best game on my list by far, but I thought it was an interesting choice. I really enjoyed playing it. I love the music and the environment. And it really did immerse me in the world of Judge Dredd, that weirdly satiristic, kind of dark, depressing, fascist dystopia. It's got the ABC robot from the film. You fight Judge Rico, who's again in the film as well. So it takes that world and kind of meshes it again with the comic book one and does the kind of more weird and out there stuff, but still allows you to kind of relive those moments from the movie as well. So yeah, it was unique. Again, probably not the best choice. It's not as bad as maybe Yoda Stories, which I picked last time. But it's something that you can have fun with, and again, if you want to just gun down people, you can, And also, it would have kind of like monitors or kind of not save points, but kind of monitors where you could check the progress of your secondary objective, check your stats, your scores, and again, kind of a precursor to modern games as well.
Okay, so yeah, very good.
Judge Dredd. So if you played that again, that was on the Mega Drive and the Snes. But yeah, it's again. I've tried to avoid comic book games because we've kind of done them. So I've tried to kind of stay away, but that's the only one on the list.
Oh, good.
But anyway, moving on. Let's hear what your next choice is, Scott.
So my next choice was Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine.
Ooh, okay.
Which, have you heard of it?
Was that the one on the Wii?
No.
Okay.
I think that was Staff of Kings that you
we
bought.
Played.
You
we
bought
played,
me for my birthday.
Oh, that's right. Uni. Yes, I did. Yeah, I did buy that. Shit, I forgot about that.
Infernal Machine. So this came out on PC, I think, either 98 or 99, and then I think it came out on the Nintendo 64 shortly afterwards. But I played it on PC when it first came out, and it's very similar to Tomb Raider, which, of course, the first 3 Tomb Raider games have been out by that point. So it controls very much like that. So, sort of 3D.
If it isn't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And obviously you play Indiana Jones, and you're chasing the Russians in this game rather than the Nazis.
Is this so a little bit like one of your favourite films, the fourth one?
Oh, yeah. Great film, that one, isn't it? Basically, there's this ancient machine. I think it's in Egypt somewhere. But the Russians are trying to... It's a machine that goes in between dimensions as well, if I remember rightly. But you start off in some sort of jungle place, I think. But yeah, so there's a lot of climbing, a lot of pushing boulders and rocks to then climb on them and then climb on other things. But of course, you've got your trusty whip.
Yes.
So that's the difference between. I think that's what this marks this a step above those early Tomb Raider games for me. So there's points where obviously there'll be like a tree trunk over a gap, and then you can use the whip to swing across.
Nice.
And a lot of the times when you do that, it plays a little bit of the Indiana Jones theme.
Almost like when you do a Bond moment in the games.
Yeah, in the Bond. Yeah, in those Bond games. So yeah, if you use the whip, swing over, it goes da da da.
Yes,
which is a nice little touch.
Yeah, I do really appreciate the video games where they have the music or a form of the music or something like when it's not just an original track. I like it. It makes you feel like, oh no, I am Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
I am. This is me being Indiana Jones.
So the music is really good in the film. So it's got the whole indie theme,
nice,
which is really good. And then the sound effects are really good as well. 'Cause I think one of my favourite sound effects in films is Indiana Jones's revolver. There's something, it doesn't sound like any other gun going off for me. You can always tell that that's Indiana Jones's revolver. I don't think
I've never noticed it myself. Yeah,
I just really like it. It's so distinctive. And yeah, it's probably my favourite gun.
The favourite gun
noise,
gun sound effects. Well, I'll mark it down. I'm going to have to listen to that now because I need to know what it sounds like because I can't picture it.
I think you would if
I heard
hear it. You think, yeah, that's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just can't think of it right now. I can't picture it at this moment. But
yeah, so you have your trusty revolver. And then you get a machete later in the game as well. So your enemies are mainly the Russians, but there's also some animals as well. Like obviously there's snakes that you have to shoot, and we know how much he hates his snakes.
He does hate snakes. That's it.
And like spiders, and you can get poisoned, and you have to use what would you call, not anti-poison.
Anti-venom?
Anti-venom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you collect those and you get med kits and things and you have to heal yourself.
Maybe just don't go near those snakes. That would be my advice.
Yeah. And there's a sort of vehicle section as well. There's a minecart section.
Nice. Oh, yes.
And then there's a couple of sections where you're driving around in a Jeep.
Okay.
I mean, one level, there's loads of hyenas and you have to get into these pyramids. But I would just spend the whole time just going around in the Jeep, running over the hyenas.
Why not?
I just do that for hours.
Animal cruelty.
Whenever you hit an animal or a person, the horn would beep on the Jeep.
Okay.
So it's not something you could press, but it's whenever you hit something, he'd beep the horn.
Yeah, and that's your favourite car noise as well, I imagine. Yeah. Every time you murdered a poor defenceless animal, you're like,
poor hyenas. And so the story, it kind of is quite out there for Indiana Jones.
It does sound.
But then it's very similar to number 4 in a way.
Yeah.
So there's these sort of alien crystal beings that you fight later on. And the boss at the end, basically you have to charge your whip with some sort of like electricity thing. So you have to whip this glowing ball until your whip gets charged, and then you have to go and fight the boss with that. And that took me ages to figure out. Again, back in those days.
Yeah, they don't tell you anything.
So I was just spending the whole time shooting him with my trusty revolver, and it just didn't do anything.
Do you remember the guides you could buy from the game shops?
I don't think I ever bought one.
I never bought one, but I remember I was playing Legacy of Kain, which I love those games. I love the story and the lore of that. And I remember going in, I was stuck on one moment. It was driving me fucking insane. And I went into the shop. I read the book. Read the book at that moment,
right.
And then I went, right, remember that, go home. And it's the annoying thing with me is those moments in the games is usually something really straightforward, like, oh, you just needed to turn that corner or walk against the wall to do this. Like I was playing Mad Max for this, and there was a moment where I was like, I can't get past this bit, and all I had to do was walk along a small ledge. Like shuffle along a small ledge. I couldn't figure it out, so I left it. I left that level, and I was like, "I'm going to go back." And then I figured it out. I was just like, "You fucking idiot!" So it's usually so simple, those kind of silly moments. But yeah, it always used to drive me insane. Batty sometimes gets me really mad.
And there was this sort of inflatable raft that you'd get as an option in a level, or was it an item?
Were you falling out of a plane?
No.
Should have done.
So yeah, again, another little callback to the films as well. But yeah, that was a really good game. The voice acting wasn't great. It wasn't Harrison Ford, but it was
surprise.
Yeah,
I mean, he's fairly miserable, so he probably he's probably doing something else. He's probably like, I'm doing Witness or The Fugitive,
at that
or
point.
something. Yeah, I don't know what Clear and Present Danger. I don't know what Air Force One. Just listing his films now. But yeah, I did almost list an Indiana Jones game, but it was Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb.
Yeah,
Did you play that one?
I did, yeah. I had that on Xbox, I think.
Yeah.
So that came out a few years after this one, I think.
Yeah, the combat in that was amazing. Really, you like the sound of the gun. I like the sound of the punches in Indiana Jones.
I do remember that.
And it's just like the combat was so good. It really, every time you landed a punch, it felt so solid and so real.
Yeah.
And the reaction and the grappling and everything was so good in that.
And your hat would fall off every now and again. You could go and pick it up.
Yes. And again, you could use the whip to swing over stuff, and again, there was a lot of puzzles involved. Very Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
And I think the music again was used, but that was my Indiana Jones game. That was the one for me. But yeah, there was the one on the Wii that I bought you that we did play. There was a co-op option, wasn't there?
I think there was, yeah.
Because I remember us both playing it, in some form or
some sort of shootout thing or
Staff
something.
of Kings, wasn't it? It was like Moses' staff or something.
Yeah.
No, excellent choice.
That was a good fun game, that one.
Yeah. I think you've. I've not played it myself, but
and there's a bonus level where you get to go back to Peru. So the beginning of the Raiders. So when he's with the boulder chase and the idol and everything. So you get to play through that as a level.
Nice.
And he sort of makes references. So you see Alfred Molina's. No, was it Alfred Molina?
Yeah, it was Alfred Molina. Yeah, the guy who's like, tries to steal from him.
Yeah, and he says, because he sees he's dead on the floor or whatever he is. He says, you should have passed me the whip, old pal. Which I thought was quite good.
That's cool.
But there's another idol hidden above the other one he got in the film, and there's another boulder that you have to run away from. Standard. But that was good fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, speaking of machetes, I've got a game that we both played. So I'm going to suggest for my number 4, it's Friday the 13th, the game. So this is a online multiplayer game. Now, I think it's really hard to capture certain films, and I think this does it really well. Like, what I did is I binged all of the Friday the 13th films for a podcast, and then I decided to play the game. And if this is one of the more immersive games I've played, because not only did Harry Manfredini, who did the soundtrack, come back, we had Kane Hodder, who played Jason in the films. He did the motion capture. And Tom Savini, who did all the makeup and the effects for some of the films, comes back and designs the kills. So you're already kind of, based on that, you're already immersed totally in this game. Like, the music is good. It's a survival horror game. You either play as Jason and you're trying to kill the camp counselors, or you are playing as the counselors trying to survive. Again,
asymmetrical multiplayer game.
There you go, Scott. There you go. That's the term. See, I always defer to you for this. I'm like, it's a game. I just played the game. And basically you have to collect items, you have to hide, you have to fix phone lines so you can call the police, you need to rewire a car, get gas for the car, things like that. Jason is armed with like traps and throwing knives and some supernatural powers as well. And it basically just plays out like every slasher film you've ever seen. And there's a lot of running. What I also liked as well is every Jason you play has the same kind of abilities they do in each film. So a Jason, for example, that will run in that particular film will be able to run in the game. Tom Savini also designed a Jason, and a totally original Jason for this game that is based on when he went to hell. So he's like a demonic guy with a pitchfork and everything, and we played this together, and I remember this because I remember because we got our headsets on, we're playing, and usually we kind of meet up. We can constantly, if you pick up a radio, you can hear what other people are saying, but if you don't pick up the radio, and it's only when you're nearby. And I remember we were playing it a few times, and eventually you got Jason and you had to kill everybody, and I can only hear your voice when you're nearby,
right?
And so when you were like, oh shit, and I was like, oh no. And you can hear the music, it's like ding 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 coming for you, and it's like, shit, it really does shit you up. There's a fear meter as well, so the more afraid you get, your screen starts to black out. And it proper, like you and me were playing it, and it still shit us up because he would just turn up and start like hacking away and stuff. Did you enjoy playing that?
I love playing that. That was on my honourable mentions list, this game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should play it more, really.
The problem is now they've taken the servers down.
Oh, are they?
So the only way we can really play it is if we've got like 7 other people to play it with. We can't play it in the same way, unfortunately.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they
Is that like a legal thing, I guess?
So,
right? Because I'm sure it was pretty popular.
It was very popular. It was released in 2017 for Xbox and PlayStation 4 and everything. And it was really, really popular. And they had a virtual cabin which teased Jason X. So Jason X is the film that's set in space. And he becomes like this uber cyborg Jason. They were planning to do a DLC, but problem is the rights are currently being contested in court. So they couldn't release any further content because they wouldn't make any money. So this virtual cabin where it's got loads of Easter eggs and references to the films and you know, bits and pieces, just unfortunately didn't really go anywhere. It was you kind of solved puzzles, and it was puzzles, because that's a word, puzzles, and it's a first person perspective when you do that, and sometimes he'll come for you. There was also a one player mode where you can actually reenact every single film.
Oh, cool.
So there's like a corkscrew kill when you kill Crispin Glover. You could kill with a corkscrew like in the movies and things like that. And it's a real challenge mode because you have to do it in a certain way in a certain amount of time and make sure they're all dead. So yeah, there was a lot to the game, and there was a lot of that you could even kill Jason. It's pretty hard. So you had to get Tommy Jarvis needs to be in play, which a random character would be given that character
if you died. Yeah.
But also, yes, you're right, a female character had to wear the jumper, like in Friday the 13th Part 2, and distract Jason. And during that moment, then you would kill him.
Okay, because you could like knock him out with baseball bats and things, but
you could shoot a flare in his face and stuff like that, or you can stun him, but you couldn't really stop him necessarily. And you can jump out of windows and things, but then if he destroyed the windows, you'd be cut, you'd be bleeding, you'd be limping. And there's environmental kills for Jason.
You could push him in the fire and
that's
that
right.
sort of thing.
Just get him in there and put him in a bloody combine harvester. You know, all sorts of horrible, like deadly stuff. But it does really capture, those films are, however you feel about them, good, trash, whatever, but it did put me in that atmosphere and I was genuinely scared. And that's what I wanted from that game, and it really gave me that. And I had a lot of fun playing that with you, and I'm glad we were able to play it when we had the opportunity. Yeah, because I think we had a lot of fun with that. I think I love that game, and I love that they went to so much effort. And the same company are developing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, which is coming out either this year or next year, and it's a similar kind of thing. Okay. And I've just pre-ordered the Evil Dead game as well, which is kind of similar as well.
Did they do the Predator game that came out? Wasn't that them?
Sort of. Yeah,
else?
I think they did. Yeah, they may have done. Which again is an honourable mention for me as well. Didn't quite make the list, but I quite enjoyed that from when I did play it. But yeah, that is my choice. I'm not sure if there's anything else I wanted to mention about that. Apart from again, the counsellors had their strengths and weaknesses, much like Jason has his strengths and weaknesses, whichever Jason you pick. I loved knocking the mask off him, and you could see his true face underneath. You could pick up the mask, and that was like a bonus as well. But there was it was kind of like playing Worms, like anybody can fuck up at any point, and anything could happen. Yeah, and I love the unpredictability of it as well.
Yeah, very good.
Thank you very much. I'm glad, and I'm glad it's one we played together as well. It was a fun game to play. But what is your next one?
So my next pick is what are we going to go with?
Whatever you want. What are you in the mood for?
Yeah, let's go with stick with the horror. The Thing. I played on the Xbox, I think. So I think it came out in early 2000s, 2002, I think. Okay. And I think it was sold originally as a proper sequel to the film, but I don't think it's considered canon now.
From what I've heard, that's true. Yeah,
but you sort of play as, I think you're sort of a group of soldiers that go in to find out what happened, because I think it's been a few months since the film, and there's been no communication, so they send in these troops, and then it starts off you're looking through the base. And everything's been destroyed, of course. And then you come across a body in the snow, which is Child's. But MacReady is nowhere to be found. But yeah, it's a very interesting game. And it did something that I've not seen in a game since, and I'm not sure why no one else has done it.
Okay.
But basically, you have a squad with you. So you play this one guy, but then you can have up to 3 other soldiers with you.
Okay.
And of course, the whole thing about the thing is paranoia and trust and not knowing who's a thing and who's not. And that's brought out in the game. So at specific points, basically, when they sold the game, it was like any one of your squad could be a thing.
Okay.
And you don't know. But also, they could think that you're a thing. So what you have to do is you have to earn the trust of your squad. And you can do that by doing different things. You could give them your guns or a gun, and then they'll think, oh, he's not a thing because he's given me a gun. I trust him a bit more. Or, you can heal them and that sort of thing. But then if you don't do any of that and you don't look after your squad, they start to get paranoid. And it can go to the extent where they don't move, and then they sort of cower in a corner, and then they can eventually even just kill themselves because they're so scared of everything and they just freak out.
Best friends.
Yeah. So you've basically got to try and look after your squad and survive, basically. And there's lots of... The enemies start out as sort of... I think they're supposed to be like the spider heads.
Yeah,
So they're sort of very small on the floor. But then there's other man-sized things as well.
Or bigger
ones. Yeah. Sort of mid-transformation, so they got legs, but, they look grotesque on the top. So the little ones you can kill quite easily, but the bigger ones, you have to use a flamethrower on them to kill them. You can't kill them just with your bullets. So you have like a machine gun that is your main weapon, I guess, so you can hurt them a bit, but then you have to finish them off with a flamethrower. But you also, one of your items is the sort of blood test.
Ah, okay.
So to get your mates to trust you, you could do a test in front of them and say, look, I'm not a thing. I've just done a test, but there's only a certain amount of tests available. But also you could use a test on your squad, and there's a chance that they could just turn into a thing then and there.
Wow.
That was the promise of the game originally. I don't know if that was ever actually a thing, because there were certain moments in the game when your squad mates did turn into a thing, but I think they were the same every game.
Yeah,
so
like
it was
the
scripted.
story-based.
Yeah. So I think if you did a test on someone and it came out fine, 2 seconds later, the script would turn him into a thing, and you'd be like, "Oh, I've only just done a test on him."
Right.
So I don't think it was. I don't think they had the technology at that point to actually make it
work
properly,
authentic,
authentic or random, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think every playthrough was pretty much the same, and people would turn into a thing at the same point in a game. But nevertheless, it was still really good fun, and really scary as well in bits, just because that whole paranoia thing. If you bought into it, you'd think
never quite safe.
Yeah, because you could give your gun to someone and he could just turn around and shoot you with that gun.
It sounds like the idea in theory is good, but maybe the practice and the technology was kind of not quite there just yet.
That's my thinking of it, and I'd love to see someone do a remake of that game now, because I think the technology would be there to make it properly.
Absolutely. Like, there's so many. Like I love horror games in general anyway, because I get well into them, and they're a lot more effective because I'm actually experiencing that, in real time, and really shits you up. So I think something like that would work. And again, I mean, there's that game, is it Among Us or
Oh yeah,
which is basically the thing, isn't it? Because one of you is the traitor or something. So if they just did that, but like again a real world one with flamethrowers and in the Antarctic maybe or somewhere else, it's definitely doable. I would see that. I actually researched this myself as well, because I was kind of looking, because I half remembered that game, and I was like that does sound quite interesting. And some of the story beats sounded really interesting as well. Like there's like an evil doctor who is in a base underneath, who is played by John Carpenter.
Yeah.
And then the ending, the helicopter pilot that picks you up is MacReady.
Yeah.
Implying...
So this helicopter comes out of nowhere, and then you defeat the massive thing, and then you sort of say, "Oh, what's your name?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm MacReady." So Yeah.
So it's implying that maybe he is the thing, potentially.
Yeah. So either he survived and he's not a thing, or he is a thing. So it ends on the same note as the film, basically.
It sounds like our friend James Beglin would like that, because he had an issue with the ambiguous ending of the thing, which we love because that it works so well. But he was like, no, I need it resolved. So play the game, James. That'll resolve it for you, clearly. Even if it's canon or not, then you get your ending. There you go. But excellent choice. One of my favourite films as well.
It's my favourite horror film.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. I think it's hard to find fault in that. My next game, you probably could find a few faults in, but I fucking loved it. Die Hard Trilogy.
Yes.
Not only did you get one game, not only one film, you got 3 films in one. 3 different play styles. You had Die Hard, the first film was in third person. You had an on-the-rail shooter for Die Hard, Die Harder, Die Hard 2, Die Harder. And Die Harder with Vengeance was basically Crazy Taxi with bombs, which is mental. Now, I learned about this. I learned that the developers that were working on this, the senior developers, were moved over to develop Alien Trilogy. So the younger developers were actually developing this game, so they're giving a chance and the moment to create this game. And again, like you were saying, like the poor voice acting definitely comes up in this game. Like, want to stay alive and stay with me. Like, you're not Bruce Willis. All that sort of stuff. And they are very kind of glitchy, and the third person one is probably, I think my favourite was Die Hard 2.
I remember I had a demo disc, or it was a friend who had a demo disc, and it was only of Die Hard 2. And I just remember, I think it was the very beginning where you're outside
the airport.
But I don't remember playing the other 2.
Yeah, that was my favourite because, again, this game was really gory as well. Like, it got banned in Germany because in the third game, when you're running over innocent pedestrians, they'd scream, their blood would cover your windscreen, and then you would wipe it off with the wipers, windscreen wipers. So they were like, yeah, not for us. I mean, Germany does show porn in the middle of the afternoon, so who's to say? But yeah, it was pretty gory, and I remember in the airport, there's tiles on the roof, and you could shoot the tiles, and they would fall down and like cut people in half. Oh, wow. It was crazy. It was insane. There was a lot of innocent. Obviously, the idea is like you don't kill any innocents, and they'll mine it. They're very much an arcade game, so it's all about the score and getting the highest score, and if you kill innocents, it's going to ruin that high score. You'll lose a life or something like that. But a lot of the weapons they give you are like rocket launchers, explosive shotguns. It's kind of ridiculous. They kind of want the damage and the explosive, and even in the taxi game, in the taxi game, the Die Hard 3, you don't get out of your cab to disarm the bomb. You run it over and it still explodes. It still explodes, but you're like, you're not quite sure if you defuse the bomb or not, because it's still blowing up. You're like, did I do it? I'm not sure. But yeah, I think the mechanics of 2 of the games were not great, but because you were getting 3 games for the price of 1, I think you kind of forgave it a little bit. Yeah. And actually, weirdly, even though all 3 games are kind of based on each of the movies, the plot is a totally unique one. Okay. It's a totally original plot, but covers the same beats. Of the film. It's unusual, and again, it's very rough around the edges. I read an article recently when people are talking about remasters, and there's been remasterings of a lot of stuff, like Ghostbusters, for example. They were the lead director was like, no, I don't want a remaster of that, because the charm is how shit it is and how glitchy and crap the graphics are. So if you remake it, it's there's some, you're going to lose something in that, and it is very kind of rough and ready. But if you're looking to play as John McClane, and if you want to be that guy in the wrong place at the wrong time, Die Hard Trilogy, I think, is an excellent game for that. Again, I think my least favourite was probably the driving section, because I feel like that's the one that was the least polished. There was a lot of glitches with that one. The first one is fine, but it's a bit weird as a third-person shooter. It doesn't really... There's a lot of mechanics that I feel are very PS1 mechanics, which just feel like... I'm just pointing, hoping that it lines up with the villains, and hoping that I don't shoot hostages again. So yeah, it's one of those. But again, I kind of forgive it because I had so much fun. Destroying airports, basically. I mean, you probably wouldn't get it now. I'm not sure if they would remake it now with everything and terrorists in airports and stuff. But from what it was at the time, and for my age, and I love the Die Hard films. They're all amazing. So it really felt in keeping with that. So yeah, it really immersed me in that. Again, do lines from the films. You fight Hans Gruber. You get, Zeus, Samuel Jackson's character, tells you when to turn in the third one. You get the, that kind of the NYPD Blue actor who's shouting at McClane in the second one. Yeah. He's like the airport security guy. Yeah. He's constantly having to go at you throughout the thing. It's like, what are you doing? You're destroying the airport. That sort of thing. It's utterly ridiculous, but it's fucking well entertaining and a lot of fun. But I think you missed out, Scott, if you only played the demo. I think you played the best one. I'll give you that. Yeah. But there was fun to be had in all versions of that game. But definitely felt like blowing a lot of shit up. So it was definitely a good one. What's your next one?
It's the one that's been dipping in and out of my top 5.
Okay.
But it's in there now.
Okay. So we're sticking with it. 100% sure.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the most recent one in my list. Alien Isolation.
Good shout. Very good shout.
Wasn't going to put it in because I'd never actually finished it.
Neither did I.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get into why. Yeah. Go on.
In terms of sort of the aesthetic of the game, the atmosphere, it really, really holds up to the first Alien film. The ship looks fantastic. The sound effects and the noise of the computers, and the noise of the doors,
the hissing of the steam pipes and stuff, and you're like, fuck.
It's so good. It's very slow at the beginning. So you play as Ripley's daughter, Amanda.
I want to say Amanda, yeah.
And you go to the Nostromo to find out what happened to your mother. And there is one single alien running about the ship. But yeah, it's sort of very slow to begin with. It's basically, a horror stealth game, I'd probably call it. And of course, you can't defeat the alien. Your only chance is to hide. And the alien AI is some of the best AI I've ever experienced in a game. It's not set on any particular route. It very much, the alien can do whatever it wants at any point. So it can climb through vents. It can go around a corner and then come back straight away when you think it's gone off somewhere else. It can hide in the walls. It can crawl through anything.
In the roof as well, yeah.
And it's a very scary game, but very authentic to the film.
Oh, God, yeah. Like, I know you were saying how slow it was. Like there is a long period before you even see the alien or you're even in a level with the alien. However, from the get-go, I was shitting it.
Yeah. Because you're just waiting. All right, when's this alien coming?
It's going to pop out and get me.
Yeah,
and one of the other kind of, obviously there's human villains in there as well, and allies and various other things.
Android alien, the enemies as well.
The average Joes, or what they call the working Joes. Those are probably more disturbing than the alien itself.
Yeah,
but I have to agree with you. It heightens that, like. Everyone loves Aliens, obviously, because it's very bombastic. There's more of them. It's an excellent sequel. But this really captures that first film, the intensity of climbing through, the noises as well. All the, like you were saying about like Indiana Jones's gun, the noises for this, like everything is just like, you can just hear it in the original movie. You can hear every little sound detail, the way the alien is huge as well. Like, in comparison to you, it's like 7 or 8 foot tall, and it's terrifying. And I remember when you were saying like the AI is amazing, I literally, the first experience I had with the alien, it killed all these guys in this big room, and then before I'd done anything, it stabbed me in the chest.
Yeah.
And I was like, how the fuck am I going to win this? How am I even going to survive this game?
Yeah, there's bits where you sort of see it around a corner, you think, oh, I've got to leg it, so you start running away, and then the game stops and you look down and you've been impaled by its tail in your chest. And you do have some weapons, so you get a flamethrower and some guns, and you can use those to fight the human enemies and the androids, but obviously they don't work on the alien, and you just have to hide. And I think there's some items
you can use the flamethrower makes them run away.
Yeah.
But it's only for a short amount of time.
But there's sort of like noise distraction items you can throw, and
you can upgrade those as well. You can upgrade that.
And then there's sort of like computer screens that you can use to like turn off lights in areas and
smoke.
Do things.
The
you turn smoke on, open vents and close vents and things. But yeah, I think I probably played it for about 10 hours or so, and then I sort of just went off it and never went back.
Yeah.
But I'd kind of had my fill at that point. I think it's quite well known for being a long game to its detriment.
Yeah.
Whereas if it had just been shorter, it would have been a much better game.
I think it is a tricky game. It is a difficult game. But for me, I got to the point where the face huggers come into it.
I don't even think I got that far.
Did you not get that far? I got into that, and I felt like it nerfed the game because it was just like they were too quick, and then before you know it, and you're dead.
Okay.
And that's it. So that's what stopped me from playing, because you get into this kind of hive area that the Weyland Yutani been building and developing. So you got all the eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, like if you miss with your flamethrower, you're already on your face. So I just went, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like I could just about manage the alien and the working Joes and the human enemies, but I was just like, no, you've just ruined the gameplay for me.
Yeah,
it was just too much. It was too difficult. If they were a bit bigger, or I don't know, something else, maybe another robot or something, or a different type of enemy. But that was just too difficult.
But I do like having the motion tracker.
Oh yeah,
some of the most iconic items you can have in a video game.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's really good, and the Amanda Ripley has become like a real big character within the universe because of the popularity and the story, and obviously like there's obviously a huge, because she dies when Ripley comes back of old age, so there's a long stretch of time.
So it was cut out of the film, wasn't it?
It was.
The
original. It's in the director's cut.
Yeah.
The director's cut is not on Disney Plus, by the way, so don't even bother going on Disney Plus to watch that version. But yeah, that whole idea, but that again informs that film and her relationship with Newt, and the alien queen being the mother as well, and everything. But no, I couldn't agree with you more. It almost made my list as well, because it's just so immersive in that world, and again, the motion detector is like the exact same noises and everything. Incredible game.
I think it might be in VR now as well. I think there's a VR
I don't think version. I could do it in VR.
I might go back to it if I can. Yeah,
I do remember that they brought back the original cast of Alien to do like a DLC where you can play the actual movie Alien as them and as those characters. I tried it and then I didn't finish it. I think I tried that before actually playing the game, so I was like, I don't know how to play this. So I think I don't think I ever went back. I think it was on my PS3, and then I downloaded it for the PS4 and I had to kind of start again. So I was kind of like, I'm not really going to pay for the DLC if I'm not going to finish the full game. So I was like that. But no, absolutely excellent choice. Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Right, next for me. So I guess this is my number two. Number two. So we've got to talk James Bond games, and I'm going to bring up another game that we've both played. So I'm going to choose 007, Everything or Nothing. Give me everything or nothing at all. Sung by Maya. So this is actually a direct sequel to Die Another Day, and is arguably a better send-off for Pierce Brosnan's James Bond than that movie was.
So this would have been his last...
As James Bond?
Yeah.
I think they used his likeness in other games like Nightfire.
He was in Nightfire, but he didn't voice it.
He didn't voice it, just used the likeness.
But this one he was...
Well, you can tell because they've thrown in an absolute budget, because they've got John Cleese, Judi Dench, Willem Dafoe, Shannon Elizabeth, Heidi Klum, and Maya.
That's insane. That like early 2000s for a game to have that
for
cast
a video
in it.
game, and it wasn't on many platforms either. It was only on like GameCube and maybe PlayStation or something like that.
Maybe original Xbox.
There was only a few it was on.
I think I've got the copy in my Oh.
He's going to dig it out. He's going to dig it out for us. There it is. There it is on the GameCube.
Yeah.
Everything or Nothing. You know what? Who I forgot to mention? Richard
Jaws.
Keel.
Yeah,
Richard
there he
Keel
is.
comes back as Jaws as well.
On the back cover.
And it's excellent. There's several forms of play on this game. So you can do there's vehicular, kind of there's a rally level. There's you've got the Bond car. You drive a tank at one point. You've got there's this rappel mechanic where you're running down buildings with a grappling hook. There's a lock-on shooting system, which was quite good because not only could you lock on, but you could actually move there was like a red dot within the lock-on, so you could do like headshots still.
Yeah.
And we played the co-op version as well, and I just bloody love this game, and arguably one of the best James Bond games. And I know obviously, probably going to talk about Goldeneye, I'm sure, or someone's definitely going to bring up Goldeneye in the comments. But as a third person game, it was just brilliant. It just had everything I want. Like I was talking about that combat in Indiana Jones. This was very reminiscent of that as well. It feels real. And yeah, it was an absolute blast. You've got Willem Dafoe as a Russian baddie. What more could you want?
Those sort of 3 games, so starting with Agent Under Fire and then Nightfire, which were first person, and then moving to third person with this game. Yeah, those whole 3 games were brilliant.
That was
for me. And
again,
this one, yeah.
And again, none of those are my 3 favorite Bond games, and none of them are based on a movie either.
Yeah,
but
they feel like they were. So that they've got their own theme songs,
worthy successors.
And they do play out like a Bond film. So you've got a big action set piece at the beginning, and the
cold open, the classic Bond cold open on a previous mission,
and the theme song and the titles.
Oh yeah,
and then you go off into the proper mission. Story, and there's driving levels. I think the driving levels were all done. I think they had different studios working on it. So the people who did Need for Speed did the driving levels, at least for Nightfire. I don't know. I'm assuming this one as well.
There's some great kind of I remember getting a lot of the Bond moments and feeling
they were really fun.
Like a really accomplished one. I remember one way it's a motorbike level, and you slide under this exploding gas tanker.
Yeah.
And it's just incredible. It's just like, and you're like, yeah, I'm fucking cool. I'm James Bond. I am the coolest man in the world. I'm not sure about the writing or that. I don't remember the story that much. I remember it's about nanobots.
Oh, okay.
I think something about nanobots. It's always about nanobots nowadays, isn't it? But I remember the little spider bot you would use as well.
Oh, yeah.
And you could
go through vents and
blow up enemies and things. There was
have a laser on it or something.
Yeah, like a laser as well, and you cut open the vents and stuff. Like, it was a really unique game, but also had a co-op mode that we played not so long ago. Oh, he's getting out the manual.
Oh, look at those GameCube discs.
Yeah, they're tiny. They're tiny, aren't they?
So
he's going through the manual. He's going to have a flick through. You can hear him flicking the pages.
Heidi Klum, did you mention
Heidi Klum? Yeah. I mentioned Heidi Klum. Yeah, she was in it. It was huge, and I think this was their way of going, right, we can't make a film. Bond, Brosnan isn't doing it. We're not quite sure who's going to be the new Bond. So let's plow our money into a video game because these are really popular. These are doing really well. So let's go for it. And they all give it their all as well. Like, the voice acting is great. And again, it makes it feel more authentic because all the actors are back. And I like when they do that. I really do appreciate when they do that. Like the Ghostbusters game as well. Like, no matter how you feel about the gameplay in that, at least they got all the actors back for, what they would call the third film, sort of. But it did feel a bit like a fishing game, that game. It was like, pull, reel him in, reel in the ghost, and I enjoy that because I never really play fishing games, so it's fine. But it was
Nano Suit, do you remember that?
Nano Suit. Oh, was that like invisible?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of a little like Die Another Day, isn't it?
Coin grenades.
Yeah, I don't remember that bit.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
I don't remember that. But I genuinely think if it's not, it might not be the people's favourite Bond game, but it is mine. The co-op mode was like you were 2 MI6 agents, and it was a totally unique story.
Yeah.
You weren't Bond, or it wasn't like a double of Bond as well. It was something that they didn't have to do. Like, they went really hard on this game, where I don't think they had to. But I appreciate every moment. There's a bit in a helicopter. There's, you name it. It's got a bit of everything in it, and. Again, the combat was great, and it was a tricky game. It was a hard game.
Yeah.
Like, it's not easy. And I don't think there was a lot of checkpoints either. I don't remember there being a lot of kind of like, quick save here. I think you had to just basically start the level again.
Yeah.
But I still got a lot of fun out of it as a Bond game, and I'm not a massive Bond fan, I will say. I'm not the biggest Bond fan in the world, but I did appreciate a lot of the games that they did based on James Bond. Like Tomorrow Never Dies. I think I played The World Is Not Enough as well. There's a few others. I think I would pretty
this was probably
religious.
The last one that was really decent. I think they went downhill. I think they did From Russia with Love afterwards.
Yeah, that was
and
a
they
third person.
remade Goldeneye on the Wii.
I know there was a very rushed. Was it Blood Hunt or Casino Royale?
Oh, because Daniel Craig was in it, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then I know that they did the Goldeneye Legends as well, which is like a remake of it. So yeah, I think you're right. I absolutely think this was the pinnacle, and again, kind of bottomed out after that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that is my Bond game. So I don't know if you've got a Bond game.
I do. So I think this was the pinnacle.
Here we go.
Which, of course, is GoldenEye on the N64.
And who could argue with that?
Well, I think lately people are tending to look back on it not as favourably.
Why?
Just because it's so janky.
The
which
models.
Of course, it's going to be for an N64 game.
Like, what do you expect? The models don't look great. The
controls are a bit iffy.
It was the N64 controller, though, which is a bit iffy anyway.
But going back to, how old would I have been? 13, 14. And my I didn't have an N64, my stepbrother did. Just playing four player at once on a game at that time.
Unheard of.
Just hours and hours of fun. Just playing 4-player Man with a Golden Gun mode on Facility.
Yeah, it's the Facility.
The Facility
I forgot
level.
The Facility.
Oh,
everyone loved that level. That was the best.
That was the best one. But just playing through the story was amazing. But obviously, it's known for its multiplayer. But there's so many things in the game that I hadn't played, and I think this was probably the first-person shooter game I played. Because I never really played Doom or Quake or anything like that.
I played. I think for me it was Doom and Duke Nukem were the ones I played.
Yeah.
Those are the classic. Shake it for me, baby, and all the problematic stuff that comes with Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but no, I'd never really played them. So GoldenEye was probably my first shooter.
I think that's a good place to start, though. Like, so unique. The missions were like. It was almost like a level was based on every part of the game.
Yeah.
You had for the time you had fairly realistic looking characters,
Yeah.
Like Sean Bean, Pierce Brosnan and Famke Janssen. They all looked as best as they probably could have been on that system at that time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a lot of people prefer the game to the film.
I think it is my favourite Bond film as well. But I think they're at the same level
par.
with me. Yeah, on par with each other. But I mean, the music was just really good. Even when you just pause, the version of the Bond theme that I had on the pause menu was so cool.
I've included the pause.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, because I had a feeling you might pick GoldenEye, so I've included the intro is going to be the pause music.
Yeah,
so.
and just the pause menu is your watch. Everything you can select is basically as if Bond's looking at his watch and doing something, and then your health's on there and your armor level and. Yeah, just a fantastic game.
I think the levels were good. Like, obviously, everyone talks about the multiplayer, like cheating is odd job and like ducking inside a crate. And I used to dick about with the mines all the time.
The mines were great fun. Proximity mines.
I used to pile up mines, so they were like 10 feet. And my friends are like, just come and kill me. I'm like, but I'm rubbish.
If you put a mine on an ammo crate and then picked up the ammo crate, the mine disappears, so you can't see it, but then it still works.
That was clever. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wish I'd known that now.
and the sort of the cheat modes you could have as well, like paintball mode, and
DK mode.
Yeah,
I remember. That was the first level. If you got like a gold or a silver medal, I think you got the DK mode.
Yeah,
so everybody had DK mode.
Yeah, DK mode and paintball mode everyone had, but some of the other ones, were a lot harder to get.
Far too hard. Yeah. I remember you could. It wasn't a DLC, but you could lock like levels from the previous films, couldn't you? Like, you could fight like Baron Samedi and Oddjob and stuff like that.
And then Moonraker level, I think there's one.
Scaramanga on it as well, I guess, with the Golden Gun as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think he is anyway.
Like that's pretty cool that they got maybe not their likenesses, but they had the ability to at least include those characters, in line with these modern Bond characters as well.
And I think just having a game where headshots actually dealt more damage than other shots, and if you shot them in the hand, their hand would sort of go backwards and they'd stumble if you shot them, or they'd hop on one foot if you shot them in the leg.
That's right. Shoot them in the dick.
And then the rumble pack as well. I think this is probably the first game that I ever had or ever played that used the rumble pack.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Which is obviously everywhere now. Just to keep going back to the multiplayer, I remember playing it at another mate's house who played it so much he could tell whenever you died, where you were going to spawn next.
Really?
'Cause it wasn't random, it was in a set order.
Oh my God.
So he was obviously amazing. He'd kill me, then run to wherever I was going to spawn next and just kill me again and just keep doing that over and over. And there was also I don't know if it's a cheat, but you could get back up into the vent after climbing down. So you could go up there with a gun and just hide.
Yeah, I remember that. I do
camp,
remember that one.
Basically.
Just camp out, which is what everybody does now. That's the thing. And GoldenEye invented that. I think, the way people would play FPS, first-person shooters now is basically because of GoldenEye. Like, everything is trying to kind of live up to GoldenEye, in a sense.
And just having so many different modes. Like, you only live twice when you have 2 lives. And then you could adjust how much damage you do. And you could do that in the single player as well. You can adjust the health of the enemies to make it harder for yourself. But yeah, just groundbreaking in so many ways.
It is, and like you said, like I know, obviously looking back, people are like, yeah, well the frame rate wasn't very good, and the graphics are pretty poor and stuff. But again, this is like revolutionary. I know there's a first person shooter documentary coming out which talks about all the differences and the changes and the development of that genre of gameplay, which I think is going to be actually quite a fascinating documentary, actually, and I would definitely be watching that. I'm not sure what it's called off the top of my head, but it is being made. I saw a trailer for it the other day, but again, straight away, what's the first thing they mention on that trailer? GoldenEye. Like Doom, GoldenEye, all the obvious ones, and then some of the more modern ones, but you can't underestimate the difference and the change that GoldenEye made. And again, it was delayed as well. I remember it was supposed to come out around the time the film came out, but actually the delay kind of made it a little bit better, and kind of people separated the two a little bit, I think.
I think it was maybe 2 years after the film,
something like that. But again, like it was kind of, obviously with these tie-in games, there usually is a bit of a rush to get them out a lot of the time, because they have to tie in with the game, and it has to be, it's the same with like social media nowadays. Everything's got to come out, the review of Moon Knight needs to come out as Moon Knight comes out, that kind of thing. It needs to be now. But again, sometimes that delay is kind of beneficial in some ways. Yeah. And no, I mean, I can't argue with GoldenEye, because I used to play with my friends. I didn't have an N64 either, but my friends like Simon Cotton, who's one of the Patreon, we used to go around here all the time, play it religiously, like Halo as well, and all this other sort of stuff. Yeah. I was never very good, but I had so much fun. I have such fond memories of playing that game with my friend Oliver as well, and Ozzy as well, like some, my oldest friends basically. And we had such a ball, and I messaged them about this, saying, "Oh, we're probably going to be talking about GoldenEye." And they were like, "Yeah, GoldenEye. It has to be GoldenEye. That has to be number one. All top 5 rankings have to be GoldenEye." But yeah, couldn't agree more, and I think most people will agree with you as well. Was that your number one?
That was my number one.
That was it. Well, I can't argue with that. But here's mine. So, I love a good cult film.
Yes.
I love a good cult film. So I also love Rockstar, the developer of GTA. Yeah, that kind of, and they've developed things like Manhunt,
I know where this is going.
Bully, and they recreated in so many ways a classic film from Walter Hill from 1979. It is The Warriors on the PS2. Because those previous games, Manhunt and GTA, were kind of inspired by The Warriors. They managed to get the license. They managed to get the actors back. They managed to get all the rights to the soundtrack. And they created an amazing brawler for the modern day. It is almost like a bit of a side-scrolling beat-em-up, but it's literally, you are getting ambushed by a million guys all at once, and you are bashing away. There's a rage mode. What other game, Scott, can you say when you take cocaine in it, it heals you? There's not many games you can say you can do that and get away with it. And Rockstar, again, get away with it. Again, all the actors are back, so it adds that authenticity. Not only do you get to play out the exact plot of the film, you get to go back and do all the backstory of all the characters. So the film, it's kind of about escaping all the other gangs. Like, they are framed for a murder they didn't commit, and every gang in New York is after them. And you don't really get that much time for character development with all the action that's going on. It's only an hour and a half, so it's very much, this is their thing, they've got to do it. But with this, they managed to they write their own backstory, they write the creation of the warriors, the gang and everything. It's sort of an open world game. When you're at your base in Coney Island, you can go and do, missions. You can do like smash and grabs. You can rob car radios and things. You've got loads of little mini games as well. So like when you're painting the graffiti of the W over like your enemy's graffiti, you have to like use the directional pad to trace within the W. Again, you have to unscrew the bolts, nuts and bolts on the car radios. You have to press certain buttons to unlock your handcuffs if you've been arrested by the police. So much fun. And again, the combat was really good. You had grapples, you had environmental kills, you had weapons, you had thrown weapons as well. And it also has that trademark kind of Rockstar, stupid, wacky humor in it. Yeah. So there's like, you fight like a group of clowns and one of them's got a stutter, and obviously they're making fun of his stutter and things like that. And again, very of the time. But yeah, there's a lot of that in there. There's a lot of that humor. And I think sometimes the weird or wackier humor doesn't really fit necessarily with the tone of the film. I will say that. But there's a lot of kind of platforming elements and stealth elements. You would hide in the shadows like Manhunt and try and avoid. And you can do stealth kills and all sorts of stuff. And some levels, it's just about like making money. Yeah. So you have to go and like rob places, loot places. And if the police get hold of you as well, it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare because they're really powerful, and you can't really... They're much like Jason or any of those other characters. It's like, how do you beat them? You can beat them, but it's really, really tough. And you get another police officer kind of come and kick your ass. But I absolutely loved it. I played it and completed it several times. There's a multiplayer mode, which is just a rumble mode. You can play as all the different gangs in the game. There's so many different gangs of so many different looks. And
was it open world, did you say?
To a point. So you'd have a set level and a set area, but you could go around in the secondary objectives like paint the graffiti. Basically you get like a set area of a street, and you'd be able to do that, and then you move on to the next set area. So there was a lot of environment stuff where you could go and buy drugs, or you could buy weapons, or you could, give homeless people money and stuff. So it was really immersed you in this kind of dirty, dank New York lifestyle of crime. And I just loved it. There's a lot of character and authenticity to the game. It's still available on PS4 if you want to buy it. It's still, you can still get it, and I do recommend it. The combat, it's not a perfect game. It's got all the kind of PS2 problems with kind of those kind of brawler
even these
combat
days,
games.
Like GTA 5's combat's not great either. I think they've never been able to nail combat really. But
no, I mean even with Red Dead Redemption as well, I don't think the combats are made. Like the hand-to-hand combat's not great, but everything else is pretty good. But I think this is probably the closest they came to nailing the combat in so many ways. You could play as all the different warriors, and again, they all had their different skills. If they're stronger or faster, or they're more pro in martial arts, or they're better at spray painting or unlocking handcuffs and stuff. There was so much going on, and again, they would accurately recreate the moments from the movie, like to the exact. They look exactly the same. You couldn't, if you put them side to side, you wouldn't know the difference because they look exactly the same. Even the intro, like we were talking about the Bond intro, like the intro is the intro to the film. It's like shot for shot recreation. The lines are the same, the music is the same, everything.
Oh, that's cool.
And it just, I just loved it. And again, it probably didn't sell that well because it was based on a cult film.
Yeah.
But I think it was one of the best titles that Rockstar ever put out for my money, personally. But there you go. There we are. That's our top 5, everybody. So do you have any honourable mentions, Scott, before we go?
I think most of them have been mentioned already. Let me
At some point. I know we've talked about quite a few.
Yeah, Agent Underfire and Nightfire. The Lord of the Rings Two Towers.
Okay.
Which I think I played before watching any of the Lord of the Rings films.
Okay.
I was never really into Lord of the Rings earlier.
Yeah, me
I'm
neither.
Still not really.
Yeah.
But I think I rented Two Towers. I just remember that being really, really fun. So I think you play as a lot of the different characters, like Legolas.
Yeah,
and
I remember hearing about the
Aragorn.
combat being really good as well, and yeah, I heard a lot of good things about that. I think somebody's mentioned it in their comments.
Yeah, I just remember that being really good. And then the other one, it's not exactly based on a film as such. Star Trek Bridge Crew.
Okay, sure.
Which
It's set in the universe. It's
set
fun.
in the universe,
Yeah.
and one of the ships you can use is the based on the 2009 J.J. Abrams film.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I'm thinking, I
Sure.
can sneak it in.
Yeah, why not?
You can basically play as one of 4 roles: either the captain, engineering, tactical. I can't remember what the other one is. Like steering.
Steering. What's your role on the ship? Just steering. I just left to right.
Yeah, but I've got that on the PSVR, and a couple of times I've just got a few beers and played with some random Americans.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun.
Yes.
So you played one of those roles, sit at the desk.
Wow, like for real.
Yeah, use the controllers as your hands and. It's really fun.
That's cool. It does sound quite. I mean, VR is immersive anyway, so I guess it's even more immersive when you're like on the deck, so to speak, and commanding those locations, and that sounds good.
Yeah,
So
I've had a good few nights playing that.
It sounds interesting, that one. Well, I've got a few honourable mentions as well. I'll just breeze through them very quickly. So. First of all, again, we've mentioned a couple, so Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, and The Emperor's Tomb. So I've also said I was playing Mad Max. One of the first games I ever completed without cheats, because when I was a kid, I was like, I'll just put cheats in, because I was a little shit. I was like, I'll just put cheats in. Was the Italian Job, the original Italian Job. They made a game on the PS1. I bloody loved it. I rented it and finished it in a day. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And again, it's like they're doing like really bad Michael Caine impressions, like you're at least supposed to blow the bloody doors out, And again, every moment is from the film. Like at the end, when you're trying to drive the minis into the bus or whatever it is, you have to line up perfectly. You start off in I think it's the is it the car of the Pakistani kind of leader from the UN. They've the girlfriend's stolen the car, and now you have to escape the police and stuff. So I had a lot of fun with that. Considering it's a racing game without any weapons, I'm very up for vehicular combat games, but racing games I've never really been that into.
Yeah, I'm sort of the same.
Yeah, but that one for me, I had a lot of fun with, just because of and the music again was like, we are the self-preservation society.
Similar ones that are. I don't actually remember if I played it, but I think I did, which is The Great Escape.
Oh, I've heard about that one, yeah. There was a few I wanted to play, like the Godfather game or Scarface.
There's a Reservoir Dogs one that came out.
Reservoir Dogs, yeah.
I never actually played that one, but I don't think
I've heard the
supposed
King
to be
Kong
great.
game, the Peter Jackson King Kong game was all right as well.
Yeah.
I heard that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there's a lot out there. But so I played Mad Max. I've been playing a lot recently of Aliens Fireteam Elite, which is this 3-player survival horror combat game, which is
fairly new, isn't it?
It is really new, like 6 months or so, 6, 7, 8 months I've been playing it, and it's 3 people, and again, it's like the film's Aliens. It's like a horde mode, so you just get swarms and swarms of aliens. It's really good though, really fun. If you're looking for something like that, just mowing down aliens left and right, it's so much fun. And again, you have to play a very specific role, and if you are not fulfilling your role, you will all die. And you only get one life, so once you're dead, you're dead. So you have to really concentrate, and it's like a really intense half-an-hour game. Each level is very intense. So, but I do recommend it's a lot of fun. Again, all the music is good, all the sound effects, you get a motion detector again. It's really, really fun. So if you're looking for not isolation, but a really accurate representation of aliens, go for Aliens Fireteam Elite. Still on. It's only online. Really, there's no kind of single player mode. You can do single player because you can have two synthetics.
Okay.
But when it gets to the harder levels, you won't be able to do it with synthetics.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's just no fucking way. What else was I going to say? We mentioned Predator Hunting Grounds. You mentioned Aladdin. I was going to say another game which is better than the film, Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher Bay.
I remember that getting very good reviews when it came out.
Really good. Nice stealth combat, first person.
Yeah.
I love that one.
I didn't play it.
Yeah, really good. Really, really good. But yeah, that's all the honourable mentions. Did you have any
there was
more?
one more just for the...
Go on.
It's the most ridiculous title for a computer game ever.
Sure.
Street Fighter, the movie, the game.
Is it really?
It was
really good.
No, I think it was probably the worst Street Fighter game ever. But they used the actors' representations for the characters instead of having,
kind of like Mortal Kombat almost. They use the real person.
I think so. Yeah. But what a ridiculous title. Yeah.
I think it's kind of obviously a bit of a joke title, isn't it? But it's
I don't know if it was at that time.
Maybe. This will really work. But let's go on to our listener comments. We've got a little bit of time left before we finish up. So let's have a look. So yes, the listener comments. So Mike of Genuine Chit Chat, the Genuine Chit Chat podcast, at Genuine Chit Chat on Twitter. He says, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith on PS2 was insanely cool. The game of Toby's first Spider-Man movie was great. Complete the final mission on hard, and you get to play any level as the Green Goblin, which was insane. I have to admit, that was fun. You played as Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin, but you would reenact all the stuff in the game. But it's almost like, it's totally original. It's never happened to me. But yeah, you got the glider, and you can turn the glider on and off, and you can.
Cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. It was something a bit different. I know in later games you could play as like Venom and stuff, but that was kind of the first instance of that.
Yeah.
And one that very, very, very much almost made my list, but because we did the comic book games, I didn't want to mention it. X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged is a brutal God of War style, video game.
Yeah.
And it is brutal. You see all the scars and damage. You can see his bones underneath his body when he gets destroyed. It was great. So that was one of his favourites too. So Max Byrne, at Maxi Byrne, X-Men Origins Wolverine, bang average film, but the game was ace. And he's really showing his age with this one, Max. Death Wish 3 on the ZX Spectrum and The Warriors on the PS2, which I do agree. I do agree. But yeah, Death Wish 3 on the ZX Spectrum. Paul Meller, so that's at the Meller Geek on Twitter. I loved this one, and he's showing an image of Ghostbusters again on the ZX Spectrum.
I think I played that one on the Atari.
I'm sure there was a port or a version of that. But yeah.
That wasn't good, that one.
Sorry, Paul.
Yeah.
Scott disagrees.
Unless it was a different version I played, but...
Who knows? I know there was one on the NES that was somewhat popular.
Yeah.
I think.
Because the one I played, you could buy different things to add to Ecto 1, and then you do a bit of you drive to
each
the
location.
place where the ghost is, or the ghosts are, and you have to capture ghosts on the way there.
Oh, God.
And then...
Ones that aren't even being paid for.
Yeah.
So again, Dan's photo, so Dan Burgess, at Dan's Photo 1, he said again, Death Wish 3 on the ZX Spectrum. I don't know why. Of all the things I expected for people to comment on, like Goldeneye and various other games, I didn't think Death Wish 3 would come up twice.
We'll have to look it up afterwards.
We will. We'll have to have a look and see if that actually works. Then he's also gone, that Wolverine game was something else. So again, hope the new one is as good. And then he's also said the Die Hard Trilogy was the most surprisingly excellent game. You could play all the different parts with different controllers too. If I remember correctly, 2 was playable with the guns from Time Crisis. I believe that was true. Okay. Yeah, I think depending on the gun controller you had, I think that did happen. So yeah, so I am Jack's Musings, at I am Jack's Musings, my biggest fan. Unsurprisingly, I love the Die Hard trilogy that was released for PlayStation. The first film was a third-person shooter, the sequel was a first-person shooter, whilst Vengeance was a driving game and devilishly hard, No pun intended. Goldeneye is the king, though, of course.
There you go.
There you go. So it's, and Angry Andy Reviews. So that's at Andy_review. He has said, in no particular order, Batman Returns on the Super Nintendo, GoldenEye, The Thing, Lion King on the Snes, and Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. So very similar to yours.
Yeah, I did see his tweet yesterday, and that's possibly why I chose to do Aladdin instead of the Lion King.
Okay.
Not to be too similar to him.
Well, don't worry, because I spoke to him last night, and he also decided not to have Batman Returns. He wanted to mention Star Wars, Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader, I think. Rogue Squadron 2, Rogue Leader.
I think that was one of my picks when we did Star
From
Wars.
last time, I think so. So because I said to him, I was like, it's within the universe, and he was like, well, if it's within the universe, then I'll have this, and I was like, all right, then it's fine. And then again, Star Wars Timeline, so that's at SWT_channel, without a shadow of a doubt. 007, Everything or Nothing. So a lot of the same ones popping up again. And then at Brett Scott, at Real Brett Scott, said Batman Returns is a great pick. So that was in response to Andy's original picks. But yeah, that is it. That is our top 5 movie licensed video games. That was good. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was a fun selection. So, Scott, do you want people to find you on the social media? And if so, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter as Scott Hodgie, I think.
I believe
Every
it is
time
Scott.
I've done this.
You're so rubbish. You're crap.
Scott Hodgie with an E, Y. And then I'm kind of new to Instagram as well.
Yeah.
Oh, Scott Hans Hodgson.
There we go.
On Instagram.
Perfect.
But I don't think I posted anything on there yet.
No worries. I'll tag them anyway. But
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll do my social medias and then we'll be off. So Facebook, it's at Secret Balls. Twitter at Dan_Balls. Instagram at SpiderDan Secret Balls. Review, like, share, comment, subscribe, etc. And don't forget to use the hashtag #PrepareForPrattle when you interact with us. If you want to join the Prattalion and to be briefed in full on the Secret Balls, swing over to Prattle World at www.spiderdanandthesecretballs.com. I'd also like to thank my patrons on Patreon. I am Jack's Musings, Paul Meller, Max Byrne, Scott Hodgson, Simon Cotton, Mike Burton, and Angry Andy Reviews for their continuing donations. It is very much appreciated and helps Prattle World keep on turning. And if you ever find yourself in a position to help the podcast, please consider it. So thank you for almost everybody in my Patreon commented, and obviously you're in the Patreon as well. So thank you guys, everyone that donates as much as they do. I do appreciate it, and I know I'm going to give you a bit more content. We've got Wizard Month coming up, so I'm going to release all of these early for my Patreon, so you get to hear it before anybody else. That's the kind of benefit you get from being on my Patreon. But thank you again, Scott. That has been really interesting. I know that you were saying that you might want to do a film-based one.
Yeah.
You want to give it a try?
Yeah, I suggested Krull.
Krull, the cult classic.
I grew up with that film.
Yeah, I remember you introduced me to Krull, and I remember, you put it on. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a watch. Sounds all right. But yeah, I remember enjoying it. It's been a while, but yeah. Maybe you can do a Secret Defenders on Krull, maybe.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
I think we'll put that in the pipeline, and that'll be it. But yeah, no, I really, really did enjoy this. I'm glad we finished the trilogy. Yeah. I think it's been good. I've enjoyed all of these because it's a little bit different from when I talk about films and stuff and comics. So it's nice to talk about video games in a critical and constructive way.
Yeah, I've had a great time. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me around to your home. And Lucy has cooked us a lovely roast, and we've had a few beers, not too many, but enough. And this has been a lot of fun. But thanks again, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.